G'day Bomber fans, tough loss on the weekend. We were in it till late, ended up losing by a fairly big margin. Frustrating game, but I think that's a good thing. I think it's good that we are annoyed after playing a team this good and letting a bit of an opportunity slip. Plenty of positives, plenty of negatives, a big review coming up. Leave your votes in down below, 3-2-1 Brownlow style, and like last week, underneath the votes, leave your role player of the match, the guy who you think played his role well but didn't get the plaudits he deserved. So let's get into it. Alrighty, quick recap. The start was always going to be important, and it was a fast start. We kicked the first 2 goals, and it came from midfield dominance. It's how we were going to win if we did from the guts. They are decimated by injury there, and we made them hurt early. It's why we got out to a lead multiple times early in the game, but they were good enough to be playing poorly or slowly and still remain in the contest. It helps that the game was a really hot one. There was heaps of feeling involved. The tension was palpable, and they clearly lifted for it. The tension transferred to the second quarter, but I also think we started to see them get on top for larger periods of time, larger periods of play. Papley and Heaney really started to get going, which is never what you want to see as an opposition fan. It was tough because we looked so capable as a team, but we were just never as good as them at their best. And I think we started to see that in that second quarter, that if we didn't lift to a new level, that they'd probably run over the top of us, which they obviously eventually did. The third quarter was when it really got tough, though. They started to make us play on the scoreboard more. The inaccuracy was no longer as prevalent, and they really piled on goals in quick succession to make us hurt. They had a 4-goal lead at three-quarter time, and you got to say they deserved it the way they were playing. They simply looked at the better team. The first half was tight. The second was when they started to show how much better they were. The final term seesawed a bit. We threatened a goal to Gresham, brought us back within a sniff, but that sniff was thrown away because of their brilliance going forward. It looked so much harder for us to hit the scoreboard, which made their effortless scoring all the more painful. They ended up winning by 30 points. My prediction of 36 almost came true. Jake Stringer helped our percentage a bit after the siren. So how did we lose this game of footy? Let's start with the negatives. For starters, the game played out exactly as I thought. We were great in the guts in stoppages, which I'll get to later, but on transition we were yet again destroyed. It was brutal at times. I feel bad for Mackay because there was nothing he could do at times with the sheer speed of their ball movement, but realistically it's something that can be defended by good teams. Far too often Errol Goulden or Nick Blakey or Chad Warner or McInerney, take your pick, even Papley and Heaney, they were finding space near the arc and picking out targets inside 50 with ease. There is a reason why Sydney scored 131 points. Say what you want about the positives, but that is a massive negative for me. You can never concede 131 points and be completely happy with the game. That's just not good enough from a team defense. It's getting to the stage where you don't even want to see quick inside 50s from Essendon because you know the ball is going to come out even faster over our heads if it does. It's ridiculous how bad we are at defending ball movement from defense to attack. I loved the grit we showed, and there was plenty to like from this game, but it is horrendous how bad we are at defending a moving footy, because that's the blueprint for how you win a flag right now in this modern game, and we can't keep up with these teams. I think we were showing the difference between a good team, I guess we can be called, and just a great team. It's a matter of class. We had more of the ball as a side, but they had 9 of the top 13 players on field for effective kicks. They were up ahead of us on disposal efficiency, almost 10% ahead on efficiency inside 50, 19 marks inside 50 to 9. That says all you need to know, and it helps when there is so much space that we leave them, but they did just pick away passes far easier than us. Like I said, those kicks of theirs, it's ridiculous. You could almost warrant trying to shut down 5 to 10 different players because they are so dangerous by foot, whereas we only really have 1 or 2 on our list. Merritt for sure. Even Martin isn't in their top 5 kicks. At the end of the day, they were just a classier team than us. It's tough when you only have a few good kicks in your side, and by good, I mean great. Think about who you'd bet your life on nailing a kick. To be honest, for me, it's just Merritt and Martin. Whereas the Swans, off the top of my head, I could name almost 10 players. That's the difference between these two teams. They might not be stronger at the contest, but they are so efficient when they are. A big negative for me is that scoreline. I know it's not really fair. We're saying that the scoreline doesn't reflect the nature of the game. The 30 points doesn't tell the story, but it does tell you a big chapter. We simply let them pile on goals. We are far too easy to score against when we sleep. We were back after that Gresham goal late, but ended up going 6 goals down, I think. That late section of the third quarter when they kicked 3 or 4 goals to 1. Even that three-quarter time after the siren goal, we had a stoppage inside forward 50 with about 30 or 40 seconds to go. Fast forward, and McDonald has a set shot to put them 4 goals ahead. How does that happen? Great teams don't let that happen. Great teams lock it in and ensure they are either scoring at that stage of the game or not conceding, but somehow we switched off when it mattered most and allowed them to kick an important goal. The margin might not feel right from general feel of the game overall, but I think it's really telling, and it shows how consistently we switch off and how easy we are to play against at times when we do switch off. It's not good at all. I think this game exposed our depth a little bit. I know we have a lot of injuries, but so did Sydney. That midfield had no no Mills, no Parker, no Taylor Adams. Those are huge players missing, and I think they stood up fairly well, all things considered. Whereas for us, we had important players missing, but we didn't really handle our losses as well. I look at those tier 2 players of theirs. You got Sam Wicks, Corey Warner, Matt Roberts. These are guys that had an impact, whereas ours, you got Menzies, Hind, Hobbs, Dersma, Sartas. They just didn't look as strong as their worst players. You're only as good as your worst players in a team, and I think theirs had more of an impact than ours. They simply bat deeper than us. To be fair, they are a contender, so it's not a surprise, but I think the fact we kept up tells a lot, but it just shows that we are still a long way off the best. But there are plenty of positives. The fact I'm talking about negatives like this is telling. It shows that we were in the contest and that we can be disappointed that we didn't get the job done. For starters, I think our contest work is incredible. I know they were missing some big midfielders, but it's back-to-back weeks where we really put an opposition engine room to the sword. Those numbers, 43 clearances to 33. We dominated stoppages as well, something that rarely happened last year. Only 3 less inside 50s, despite having far less of the play for most of the night. Setterfield was a big reason for that. He was everywhere inside contests. Merritt was huge inside as well. He was inspirational late in that game. Even Perkins, Durham, Caldwell, these guys were hard at it. Draper as well. You can see that Essendon edge that everyone's talking about, and it starts with Draper in the guts. We're clearly competitive now, which is fantastic. The fact we kicked triple figures against a team this good, a defense this good, for me, that's a positive. Away from home as well. Piling on 15 odd goals, that's great. It shows that we have avenue to goals as well, especially because no one kicked more than 3. You had midfielders popping up. Both ruckmen had big goals. Even Cox, a defender, drifted up there early to kick a goal. It was good to see us scoring in different ways, really promising, and I think it's a really good sign as we lead into a game against a really stingy defense in St Kilda. I thought our attitude was really great. It wasn't professional, but it was great. We gave away some silly free kicks. We seemed to let the moment catch us a bit. Peter Wright's obviously going to have a nervous tribunal tonight, but I'd much rather that than just let Sydney run over us like we did a couple of years back. I would much rather us give away a free kick for being too tough than hold back and look weak. We certainly don't look weak anymore. We've taken it to 2 tough teams, made them look weak at times, so that attitude is great. You love to see it. A few question marks. One being our midfield dynamic. It's already looking like it's a bit too deep, and that we aren't really letting players settle before switching them out. I thought Caldwell was a great example of this. He had patches roaming through where he looked a great player, but then went missing when he was rested in other areas, more specifically up forward. That's only going to get worse now with Parrish and Shield coming back soon. Same with Hobbs. I thought Hobbs was a really tough one to read throughout the game because he just didn't look settled due to the deep nature of our engine room. And I guess it's a good thing to have lots of midfielders. It's a good problem to have, but they can't really play anywhere else. Caldwell and Hobbs, for me, don't really impact outside of the guts. Same with Sartas. You can't really justify playing them there over Shield and Parrish when they're fit. So what are we going to do when they come back into the team? And the ruck combo as well. Goldie didn't have the same impact he had last week because he only had 40 ruck contests. Draper only had 1 less ruck contest and played a quarter less. It didn't look like it really worked compared to Sydney, who had Grundy in the ruck on his own, really. And Grundy on his own had more disposals, more hitouts, more score involvements than Draper and Goldstein combined. I think there is a big question there, which will need to be addressed before we go up against Rowan Marshall. And obviously, Peter Wright, that bump, it's tough because he didn't mean it. He was going for the chest mark. He turned his body when he saw, who was it? Cunningham in his peripherals. But if the comments in my suspension video piled on Braden Maynard, I think they probably got to do the same with Peter Wright. I think you got to look at them. They're very similar incidents. I thought Maynard deserved a week or 2, and by that logic, I think the same happens with Wright. Although, probably it's going to be more now, if we're being honest, now with what the AFL think about contact to the head when you leave the ground, and the responsibility, I guess the onus you take when you're in that position off the ground. We might be without him for a while. He has a date with the tribunal tonight, which usually suggests 3 weeks. I'd say 3 to 4 minimum, unless our lawyers are on their toes and on bringing their A game to that tribunal. All in all, it was a really good effort. I was pleased that we were competitive against such a good team at their home ground. No excuses, they were the better side. We had injuries, but so did they. In the end, it's a fair result. Maybe the margin blown out a bit, but that's on us. We conceded those goals, so we deserve it. Really, Sydney showed us the difference between a finals contender and a flag contender, I reckon. They were much better around the ground, more ruthless. We were hard and tough and showed real grit, but it means nothing if you don't defend a transitioning footy and just aren't clean enough when you get your hands on the pill. We deserved to lose. We were just the worst team on the night. But again, I'm pleased with what I saw from many aspects. It was a promising game. Now on to the votes. 1 vote to Will Setterfield. He was awesome in the guts. Almost 30 touches, almost 10 clearances. Equal game high clearances, actually. I thought he was so strong in there. Not always effective, but certainly hard at it. 2 votes to Jade Gresham, who was everywhere up forward. 3 goals, 3 assists. He is so creative with ball in hand. I love him there. He was really awesome. But 3 to Merritt, no doubt for me. He was amazing. He was inspirational. He was just so hard at it all night. So clean as well. He really rose to the occasion and tried everything he could to bring us back late in the game. I thought he was awesome. And my role player of the match is Sam Durham. He doesn't get much of the ball in the guts. His stats don't look good, but he's really energetic, really hard at it. 6 or 7 tackles, drifted forward for a few tackles inside 50 as well. I thought he was really energetic and lively, which is what we needed. Some honourable mentions. Andy McGrath was 4th best after Setterfield. Again, that's another 4th or 5th best on ground for McGrath, who's not getting any votes from me. Sorry, Andy. Stringer was good in patches, but not consistent enough. Same with Caldwell and Martin. Martin, though, I think improved immensely off last week. He was much better. I think you'll get some votes from you guys, but that's about it. Leave your votes down below along with your role player of the match. But that is that review done. Let me know what you think down below. Are you pleased? Are you upset? Should we have won that game? Let me know your thoughts along with your best on ground votes. I'll see you during the week for my Saints preview plus other videos. That's all. Cheers for watching. Go Bombers.